Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of our Glory Hunter career mode here on FC25. We are back today with another episode here with Monaco after we managed to win the Coupe De France trophy last episode, beating PSG on penalties after a pretty poor 0-0 draw in the final. But after a pretty poor league campaign, we will head into the Europa League this season, and the board are setting us some pretty big objectives once again, wanting us to win the league and the cup, and also win the Europa League as well. Of course, our own personal objectives this season will see us wanting to win the Europa League in particular, and with those big objectives doesn't really come a particularly big budget as well. With just 31.5 million to spend, we're going to have to generate some money from player sales, and after having one season in Monaco and using some of the players here, I think it could be a pretty big season of outgoings as well. I think we're going to raise quite a lot of money from player sales. It will be quite a big rebuild, as we didn't really rebuild the squad that massively last season. So I am going to give out a few new contracts. I think those are going to go to Brazilian Edison, who, though he may not be our starting goalkeeper this season, he was the hero of the penalty shootout victory against Paris Saint-Germain, saving 2 penalties and scoring the all-important one as well. Mika Marmo at left centre-back is also going to get a new deal. Now 30 years of age, but he's definitely an important piece of the furniture on the left side of that defence. I think Simon Bouabre will also get a new deal, but other than that, I'm not really too sure. A lot of the other players could potentially leave, the likes of Kevin Danso, potentially Mohamed Kudus, who I didn't really get on with last year, and both Jordan Teze and Baris Alper Yilmaz, alongside Tyler Dibling, have handed in transfer requests for this season. So we're going to jump straight into the sales, and I think there might be a fair few of them. Alright then guys, here comes our first deal of the summer, and it's a big one. Handed in a transfer request last year. If he doesn't want to be here, then I'm happy to sell him. Tyler Dibling heading to our former team and the Champions League winners, Eintracht Frankfurt, for a whopping £80 million. I'm glad he signed that new deal last season, because there is no way we would have got that amount of money for him if he hadn't signed that new contract. So the first man out the door, and he has massively risen our budget. And here goes deal number 2 of the window. That is going to be Viktor Zigankov heading to FC Nantes. Didn't really feature for us last year, and now at 33 years of age, I'm happy just to get him off the books for what I think is a decent fee of 11.5 million. And there is another of the transfer listed players out of the door. That is Jordan Teze heading to Manchester City for just £16 million, but because he was in the final year of his contract, I couldn't negotiate a higher fee, so just happy to get him out the door. If he doesn't want to be here, then he can go. Another deal going through here, I believe that is our backup goalkeeper, Philip Kern. Yes, it is, heading to RC Lens. Another player in the final year of his contract. Happy to let him go, as we've got Edison, and I will probably bring in another goalkeeper alongside the Brazilian. So £7 million, I'll take it. And we're not messing about in this window either. That is another player whose deal is up at the end of the season, Kevin Danso, heading to Real Madrid. Great move for him, to be fair, at the age of 32, getting a move to the Galacticos. But again, deal up at the end of the season. Couldn't get much higher than market valuation of 23.5, but I'll take it. And there goes what is probably our penultimate sale of the summer, as Baris Alper Yilmaz leaves to Brighton for just 29.5 million. This one I am a little bit disappointed about the money, because he only had a year left on his deal and of course handed in that transfer request, but I think if he'd had a few more years, we probably could have got upward of 40 million for him. Alright, well, those player sales have brought the budget up to 180 million, with 167.5 of that coming from the player sales. sales. The squad is absolutely gutted. We've got no players in the reserves now, so we're definitely going to have to bring in some numbers after there's been probably a good 6 or 7 players leave the club. So although I feel the starting 11 is still actually pretty strong, I'm going to go away and make my signings, and we'll reveal them one by one as we have been doing throughout the course of the save so far. So I'll see you in just a moment for our transfers. Well, guys, what a crazy summer transfer window it has been. This has probably been the craziest window of the whole save so far. And I thought I was done with my transfers and I was pretty happy with them. And then we received 2 monster bids for Jonathan David and Mohamed Kudus. So both players have left the club. You'll be seeing those deals on screen now, which raised our budget back up to £200 million after we'd already spent about 180 million. So it's just been crazy, and we will kick off with our first transfer of the window. And our first signing of the summer was Fran Carrillo, this Costa Rican goalkeeper. Potentially a Keylor Navas regen, pre-gen, I'm not too sure, but he is the perfect sort of long-term replacement for Ederson. Left-footed as well, 6'1", and looks like a pretty decent shot stopper. I think he was in the top 10 for clean sheets in the French League last season. So I do think whilst Ederson is higher rated at the moment, going forward he will be a really good pickup as our number 1. And our second signing of the summer was a backup right back after the departure of Jordan Teze. I didn't want to spend too much money, so I decided to go for Mexican Julian Araujo. The former Bournemouth man had moved on to Fulham in the save, but we managed to pick him up for just 14.5 million, which I think is a really, really good deal. He's absolutely rapid, and whilst he is only 81 overall and now 30 years of age, he's not going to play a huge amount. He's just an option to have off the bench if I need to get some fresh legs on. So I'm pretty happy to bring him in for under 15 million. And I'm really, really happy with our next signing. I knew I wanted to sign a central defender, and with Kevin Danso's sale to Real Madrid, that helped bring in some more funds to go after this man, Joel Ordonez, the Ecuadorian central defender. I know he's got really good potential in FC 25, now up to 85 overall. We picked him up from Lazio for just 47.5 million. He's absolutely rapid. He's 6'2". He's a very, very good defender, and he's brilliant on the ball as well. So as a replacement for Kevin Danso, I don't think I could have found a better option on the market. I'm really excited to use this guy for the first time, and I think he's going to be a really, really good pickup. And our next signing was more of a squad player. He's really the replacement for Barış Alper Yilmaz, who of course handed in a transfer request. I would have been happy keeping the Turk, but as he had handed in that transfer request, I'm happy to let him go and bring in Argentine Alan Velasco as his replacement. 29 years of age, but I quite like Velasco. He's a little bit different to anything that we've got in the team. Very, very good technically and can play centrally as well. We picked him up from Toulouse for £27 million. And again, it's another player that I've never used before, and I do think technically he is absolutely fantastic. He's got a little bit of pace about him, but in this system, I think having players that are technically very good in those wide positions will certainly help us out. So as a squad player, I think the Argentine is a really clever pickup. Next up, we have a player that I'm a big fan of in real life, and there are rumours that he could potentially be heading to Chelsea next summer, as he's currently playing for sister club Strasbourg, and that is Emmanuel Omega, big 6'5" centre forward, but he's got a bit of pace about him as well, and we picked him up for just £25 million from Atletico Madrid. Of course, Richarlison retired at the end of last season, and I'm not really sold on Ribeiro, so I initially signed Omega as a bit of a backup, but someone who's got some real quality, and I really, really wanted to try him. I've had him on my shortlist at basically every club I've managed throughout the course of the save, so I'm really happy to finally have the opportunity to use him, and I really, really am excited to give him a go. And guys, I thought that was going to be it for my spending before we decided to cash in on Jonathan David and Mohamed Kudus, as you have already seen. So there were 4 more signings that came in after the initial 5. The first of those being a regen Blake Perry joining from OGC Nice for £41 million. English striker, left-footed, and he's got some pace about him. Looks like a really good finisher. And again, like Carrillo, who we signed in between the sticks, he was in the top individual player stats for both goals and assists last year, so a bit of a playmaker as well. And to be honest, I didn't really get on with Jonathan David in the played games last year. As good as he was in the Sims, I didn't really get on with him. He had holds on his growth as well, and he was actually starting to level down, so I decided that now was the right time to cash in on him. And I think Blake Perry could be a very good pickup to play up top, and I love the aesthetic on this kid as well. And with all the money that we had in the budget, I decided to strengthen in an area of the pitch where I'd not signed anybody so far, and that is right through the heart. So we decided to bring in Arnie Engels, who I don't really know a huge amount about, but he looks absolutely fantastic. He's got bags of energy and technical ability as well, more of a defensive piece. So to come off the bench when we are leading and sort of see through the remainder of a game, as 6'1", 27 years of age, he joins at the peak of his career, and I think next to Enzo Fernandez coming off the bench for Kamara, he is going to be a fantastic pickup. I love how well rounded the Belgian is. Yeah, I felt we were a little bit short in midfield, so I think Engels for 30 million is a great pickup. And our 2 final signings, I decided to again strengthen in those wide areas. We had a lot of wide players leave the club this year, and my replacement for Mohamed Kudus is sort of 2 players. The first of those is a player that we had at Frankfurt, Jean-Matteo Bahoya, who signed for 57.5 million from Real Sociedad. And you might be thinking, well, you sold him when you were at Frankfurt, so why have you now brought him back? But he fits this system more than he did when we were at Frankfurt. He wasn't really a number 10, and he wasn't really a wing back either, but in a 4-4-2, the pace that this guy's got, I think he's going to be a real threat on the break and on those turnovers. He's got great finishing as well. He is a goal scorer from those wide positions, which I didn't really have in Tyler Dibbling or Mohamed Kudus out wide last year. Of course, Dibbling moved for a hefty fee to Eintracht Frankfurt. So our final signing of the summer was to replace Dibbling, and that is the former Brighton man Yankuba Minte, who again I'm a big fan of in real life. I do love those left-footed players who play on the right-hand side. I would have been quite happy to keep Tyler Dibbling, but of course he did hand in that transfer request, and I think we have a bit more balance with Minte and Bahoya rather than having Kudus playing on the left. We just about had enough money to bring Minte in after he signed from Valencia for £50 million, but I am really happy with the signings we have made. I think the squad is a lot more sort of balanced when you look at the team. As I say, with Minte on the right and Bahoya on the left, I think we've got a really well balanced team. We may have lost the quality of Jonathan David, but the money that we got from that sale has meant that we can really invest in the squad even further. And I do think looking at this team, we are a much more balanced outfit. Of course, we've still got Edison, who's 84 overall, who could start over Carrillo. I'm not sure who's going to start in the Sims. And as I say, I think the rest of the players that we've brought in are fantastic buys as well. The squad is looking really well balanced, and I think what I am going to do is sim through to the 1st of January, as of course we don't need to worry about the Cup and the Europa League. We will still have 2 games in January, so if we do need to play them, then we can jump into the played games, but I think we should have enough to make it through either in the top 8 or through the playoff round. So we're going to sim through to January, see how we get on, and we'll have a little mid-season roundup. Well guys, we've made it to the 1st of January, and I think we've done okay in the Sims, to be fair. We've drawn quite a few in the league, but I think we're doing pretty well, as we've been drawn to Rodez in the last 32 of the Coupe de France. That, of course, does not really matter. The Europa League, which is probably my top priority this season, we are in 5th, so we're doing pretty well. 4 wins, a draw, and a loss, which hopefully means we will bypass the playoff in with a top 8 finish. As for the league, we are second. Okay, well, we're doing okay, but my goodness, look at PSG go. 13 wins from 15 games means we're 13 points behind them already after just 15 games have been played. It is going to be so difficult to win the French league over PSG. I know we won the cup last year, but that's a one-off game against PSG. To best them in a 34 league game season, I'm not sure it's going to happen. You know, we might just need to jump ship to PSG to get this league and title wrapped up, because I'm not sure if we're ever going to get it at any other club other than PSG. As for the individual player stats, I think Oscarson has been banging in the goals, as Edison looks like he's played most of our games. He has, and he looks like he's done all right. As for the goals, it is, Oscarson top scorer, 10 goals and 5 assists. Omega doing well with 10 goals as well. And Enzo Fernandez and Arnie Engels chipping in. That's nice to see. 3 goals and 3 assists for Bahoya. Just the 1 goal and 1 assist for Minte. So, yeah, it's been a pretty decent start. I won't lie, we're doing okay. I think what I'm going to do, as we do look pretty comfortable to at least make it into the playoffs of the Europa League, is sim a further month to probably the 2nd of Feb. We'll play the Lorient game, and we'll see if we have finished in a top 8 place and bypass the playoff in the Europa League. Because I think with such a big gap at the top of the league and table, I'm going to focus mainly on the Europa League this season. Well, guys, I think we have bypassed the playoff as we won match day 7 and 8 in the Europa League. We did suffer our 2nd league defeat of the season, but as I say, man, look at the gap to PSG at the top. They've still only lost 1 game, and we need to turn some of those draws into wins. As for the Europa League, we have indeed bypassed the playoff, finishing in 4th. But, I mean, there's some strong teams in this competition. You've got Chelsea, Inter Milan, Lazio, Spurs, Lens, Leipzig, Bilbao. There's some really strong teams in this competition. So, it's going to be by no means easy. But, again, I think what I'm going to do, we'll sim 1 further month until we see the draw for the Champions League last 16. We'll see who we're facing and decide whether we're going to play or sim, or maybe a mix of both. So we'll sim through to March the 1st. Well, guys, we made it to the 1st of March, and whilst we're still in 2nd place, we're 12 points off PSG, who have still lost just 1 game this season. As for the Coupe De France, we are into the semi-finals as we look to retain our trophy, but we'll probably lose to PSG in the final if we get there. And in the Europa League, we've been given quite a nice draw against HJK Helsinki in the round of 16. So, as I say, still some big clubs in this competition, and I would expect that probably from the quarterfinals onward we are most likely going to have to play. But I think what I'm going to do for the first leg at least is we'll sim through the actual sim match section, and we'll see how we get on and potentially play the 2nd leg if we have to, but it should be a comfortable win. All right, then, time for the first leg. Even if we draw or lose this, I will probably still sim the 2nd, and we do lose it by 2 goals to 1. So thankfully there is a 2nd leg. I'm still feeling pretty confident that we will turn it around in the 2nd, so I'm probably going to risk it with the sim. Let's jump through into that home leg. Well, we just lost our league game fixture in between these Europa League knockouts, so we're 15 points off PSG, and I don't think we are going to be winning that title this year. But as for the Europa League, we need to turn this around, and we do with a 3-0 victory. I thought that would be the case despite losing the first leg after goals from the Iceman, Omega and Minte as well. So we will head through to the quarter-finals. Again, there's still going to be some strong teams left, although Osasuna, who did well in the group stage, and Inter Milan as well, knocked out alongside Athletic Bilbao. That is good news for us, to be fair. So as we sim through, one advance in the calendar should see our quarter-final opponents drawn. So it is going to be, where are we, Europa League. It's not in the calendar, in the standings, but it should be in the calendar. We will be taking on Chelsea. Oh my goodness, man. So unlucky with the draw. Well, I thought there would be some tough games, and I'm probably going to end up playing both of those fixtures because, yeah, I'm not going to risk it in the sim. And I think that is going to be a pretty close affair over 2 legs. So let's sim through to the first leg. We are at home here in France first off before we travel to the bridge. So we've got quite a few games to sim through, although the league is pretty much done. There's no way we're catching PSG now. So all eggs in the Europa League basket as we look to tick off our second European honour of the save. Chelsea at home at the Stade Louis II as we look to take a positive result back to England. Allez les Rochers. Well, we're half an hour in here, still deadlocked at 0-0, and it is quite difficult to know how good this Chelsea side is because it's pretty overloaded with regens and youth academy players. They've still got Cole Palmer, and they've got Julian Alvarez up top, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and a few other real-life players as well. But got to remember that they were Champions League winners twice in this save, so we know they're going to be pretty strong. But here goes their former player Enzo Fernandez. Look to lift that into the middle, and Chelsea will clear. Joel does really well and has carried on his run there. Go on, Joel. Good defending by Hato as we will try and keep the chance alive. It's been pretty even so far as Enzo Fernandez will let fly, and again Chelsea bodies in the way. That might come back for us though, as Oscarson is denied by Diarra as he hit it first time, and I think that is going to do it for the first half. The Iceman going the closest, but we still remain deadlocked at 0-0 in what has been a pretty even first 45. Well, we know that Chelsea have got some real quality at the top end of the pitch, especially with this man Cole Palmer and Julian Alvarez as well. Ordonez does well to win the header, and we still remain deadlocked here. I'd love a goal to take back to the bridge, as that's nicely worked. And now Enzo Fernandez can bring the ball forward. Tried to slide that in behind for Minte, but we will recycle. Oscarson, nice football. Emega onto that left peg, fires over the top. And 25 to play. We're still deadlocked at 0-0. Oh, there's a familiar face for Chelsea and Noah Lang. Hopefully he doesn't come back to haunt me today. That's nice work as Blake Perry, the youngster. And we got somebody down over there. I think it's Vanderson. Still Blake Perry. And Velasco off the bench is denied by a pretty comfortable save from the regen Diarra. We've probably looked most likely today without threatening too much. And as the new man Velasco finds Minte, and Enzo Fernandez looks to bend one, took a nick, and will go behind for another corner. This is good pressure from Monaco as Velasco has it again. Swings the ball in deep, and it's well cleared as Hato loses out to Perry. Nice spin from him. Enzo. Velasco hits it at Diarra. Well, that is going to do it here in France, and we couldn't find a breakthrough, unfortunately. So, heading back to the bridge, we will be deadlocked at 0-0. We did a good job of keeping Chelsea quiet. Alvarez and Palmer didn't really have a sniff, and whilst we did go closest, forcing Diarra into a few saves, we didn't really create anything clear-cut. So, sides deadlocked heading into the second leg, which we will jump straight into. We've got PSG in between the two Europa League ties, so I'm expecting they will probably win and extend their lead at the top. But Chelsea away at the bridge as we look to reach the final four of the Europa League, and the only trophy that we've really got a chance of winning this campaign. Well, we're off and underway, and feeling a little bit worried that Chelsea are going to see a lot of the ball in this second leg, and this sort of thing might happen as Cole Palmer's shot is blocked, but he and Alvarez looking really, really dangerous, and I'm already sort of pondering what's going to happen next season. I know that we've still got work to do this campaign, but a bit of a strange save by Carrillo that. I'm already pondering what is going to happen next season and whether we should be staying with Monaco, trying to win the Ligue title, where I don't really think we're anywhere near competing with PSG, or do we just jump ship and try and focus on some different competitions? Because next year, Ligue 1 is going to be the only... Oh, Minte off the bar. is going to be the only competition that we can really compete for. We've already won the Cup. We're going to be back in the Champions League. It feels like a bit of a wasted season trying to compete with PSG. Yeah, I don't know whether it's a waste jumping ship from Monaco. Like, how close are we to competing with PSG? Because if we've spent 2 years rebuilding this squad and then we leave, is that just a little bit pointless, or is it worth staying and trying to compete with them? As Bahoya, lovely skill, has Araujo on skates, and Bahoya drills in the opening goal a few minutes before the break. And if we can get our hands on this competition, that will certainly help ease a bit of pressure, as we will tick off another trophy. But we're now technically over halfway through this save, and although we are going along quite nicely, we've still got a lot of trophies to win. Novak spinning, finds Alvarez. That's too easy. Brilliant tackle by Joel Ordóñez. That is fantastic defending from the Ecuadorian. Yeah, Chelsea starting to put a bit of pressure on us at the start of this second half. Novak. Palmer ahead of him alongside Alvarez. Strike comes in and Carrillo does well. I don't mind them taking shots from there too much, but they're starting to get on top and work the ball towards our goal as Ordóñez heads away. And that might work, you know. That might work. Arnie. Go on, son. Still Arnie. Brilliant run from the Belgian. Engels, oh, he's put it wide. It wasn't hit with a lot of conviction. And he scored a fair few goals this year. That was a brilliant run, but he never really looked confident in the finish. And it's all over here at the Bridge. Not a particularly good tie, to be honest, but Chelsea, who would have been one of the favourites to win this competition, and knocked out in the quarterfinals, as former Chelsea man Enzo Fernandez, the skipper here at Monaco, is loving it. And it is Bahoya's goal right on the stroke of half-time that will send us through to the semi-finals, knocking Chelsea out in the process, where I would say we are maybe now the favourites to go all the way and win this competition. Well, let's find out who it is going to be in the Europa League semi-finals. It's Basel. Okay, well, we've got very, very lucky there as Spurs take on RB Leipzig. Basel knocking out PEC Zwolle. Well, Chelsea in the quarterfinals, we've been given a much nicer tie in the semi-finals. I'm even tempted to sim the first leg of that. I'm even tempted, if we're at home, which we are, I'm very tempted to sim the first leg. Let's sim through against Lens and Stade Rennais, where the results mean absolutely nothing. And I think I am going to sim that first leg against Basel. Well, this might seem a bit of a risk, guys, but it's a formula that worked for me in our Champions League win with Frankfurt a few seasons ago. So I am going to sim the first leg. And I do feel pretty confident. It is a 2-0 win, so I'll probably play the second just to make sure we do get through. Because imagine if we did lose it in the sim, I would be absolutely fuming. So I think we will jump into that second leg, but it just means going into it, we've got a very, very nice cushion, as the other semi-final between Spurs and Leipzig finishes as a 1-1 draw. It is any guess who we could be facing, but yeah, let's jump into the second leg, travelling to Switzerland to take on Basel. I'm trying to keep my mind focused on the here and now rather than what potentially could happen in the summer and heading into next season. So yeah, let's just jump into the game. Let's make sure we do our job and make it to our second Europa League final of the save, where hopefully this time we might be able to get our hands on the trophy. Allez les Rochers. Yeah, it would take a pretty bad bottle job to throw this away from here. We're much the stronger side on paper. We've got a 2-goal aggregate lead, which has now become 3 as the Iceman rifles in the 3rd minute. And yeah, that is pretty much us into the Europa League final, and we can have a bit of fun now with it as well as we try to score some goals. It's been pretty comfortable. Well, to be fair to Basel, they have settled themselves since that early goal from Oscarson really killed off the tie. But here goes Bahoya using that pace. Drills it into the middle. It's an own goal. We have seen that so much throughout the course of this save and the previous save with Sevilla as well. Just drill the ball in low and hard, and it's like in real life. It can come off a defender. It can go anywhere. And whilst Bahoya scored the winning goal against Chelsea, he's not going to be credited with that one, as that is definitely an own goal. And this has been a really, really comfortable semi-final for Monaco. Mika fires the ball into Manuel, and now Bahoya back to Emega, and Oscarson's with him. I think Emega wants the goal himself. Brilliant run, and he's not going to miss that. And now we really are carving through Basel. Emega out to Buonani. Lovely ball. And we're in behind here. Bunani, it's 4. And it's a lovely finish from a player that we don't see much of, to be fair, but a very handy squad player to have. And he comes on here, rounds off the victory with a 4th, and it is a 6-0 aggregate win for AS Monaco in the semi. Really laying down a statement of intent in this competition, and it will be either Leipzig or Spurs that we will take on in the final. So let's go and find out who it's going to be. Well, as we get back to the menu, we will find out who it's going to be in the Europa League final, as we will be taking on Tottenham Hotspur, who defeated RB Leipzig 1-0 at the Red Bull Arena to secure their place in the final. So that will come on the 19th of May. I believe that is actually still before the end of the campaign. Or no, it's actually after our 2 final league fixtures. So we'll jump into the Europa League final. This is pretty big for the outcome of the save, because we've already lost 1 Europa League final, and we know that it's quite difficult to actually manage clubs in the Europa and the Conference League. So I don't really want to bottle it after being given an opportunity to play in the competition this season. Spurs, of course, known for being bottle jobs, but they did win this trophy last year in real life. I don't think they've won it throughout the course of the save. I've got no idea what sort of team they've got at this point in the save 8 seasons in, but I'm expecting it to be a tough game nonetheless. Allez les Rochers. Well, I said I wasn't sure what sort of lineup Spurs would have, and it's a pretty strong one, as Carrillo will claim that at the back post. But yeah, I'm not really too sure what to make of this final. We've looked good in recent weeks. Oh, as Omega does brilliantly. Oh, still Omega. And Omega on the right foot, denied by Lunin. That was some fantastic footwork, as both keepers have been called into action early on, as Minte comes to collect the corner. Minte going on and flashing it wide, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's some goals in this final tonight. Oh, danger here. Mika couldn't get there, not once but twice, and that's a brilliant finish as Tottenham take the lead in the final. The Brazilian Rodrigo given too much time and space. Mika just missed his interception on 2 separate occasions, and the Brazilian drills in from quite a tight angle. Misses one there, misses the second one there, and he was never going to miss from there. Spurs lead. Stone forward to Rodrigo. Trouble. Oh, that's really nicely worked. Tight angle again. Don't let him shoot. Don't let him shoot. As Spurs have 2, and it is James Maddison, the skipper. I just didn't get tight enough to him. He comes in field. Ouattara initially sells himself, then doesn't get close enough to him twice. And Maddison drills in at the near post. Maybe Carrillo should do better, as he toe pokes it in. Double Spurs' lead, and we have got a mountain to climb in the Europa League final. Well, this game's not done yet. There's still a long way to go. And we do have goals in this team, as Omega just slows it down and finds Kamara. Great run by Minte, and he's picked out and should score. Minte gets us back in the game at 2-1, and that is what I was saying. There is a long way to go. Minte into Fernandez. Minte again. Good defending by Harry and Mass, who didn't let him go, but Spurs still look dangerous on the break. They look as if they've got more goals in them as well, as Bahoya dispossessed. Got to move the ball quicker, Sam. That's really poor. And look at the bodies over. It's Matisse Tell, and it's 3 for Tottenham. That is so poor from me. Got to move the ball quicker. And on the break, Matisse Tell drills in Tottenham's third and restores the 2-goal lead. Well, I won't lie, we are getting absolutely torn apart at the moment. It's 4. It's over. It's over. It's Matisse Tell with another. It's 2 goals in 2 minutes. It's over. It is over. We've bottled it. Yeah, I'll be honest, guys. I'm not sure if this Monaco team is the right fit for me. Just doesn't quite feel right as Minte, Oscarson, Minte again, Bahoya, Minte, Bahoya. It is 4-2 and the flag goes up. That's really frustrating, but I just don't think it's right for me. I think I'm probably going to move on in the summer. There's no point staying. We're not going to win the Ligue 1 title. We can't compete with this PSG team for the title. We've won the cup already, which is a success. And we're going to be back in the Champions League, which again is another competition that I don't need to win. So I think it's just a waste of time me staying in Monaco, and it will be just wasting another season of the save that we don't really have, as Oscarson does make it 4-2, and maybe the final's not quite over yet. Omega finds Bahoya, and we've still got time in this final, and Bahoya looks to get away from Pacho. Nicely worked. Omega from the angle denied. Minte also denied, and that was a chance. If we get a goal back there, then you'd say it's definitely not over. It's still not, with just under 25 to play. Minte. Away from Amas. Oscarson finds Perry off the bench. Oh, he's got a score. We have had the chances to win this cup final, and we've just defended so poorly, and we've bottled it in front of goal. Ouattara able to bring the ball out here. Still Ouattara. And he might have to go all the way himself. Ouattara. Brilliant run. Ouattara cannot finish his dinner. We've had so many chances tonight. Not really the man you'd want there, but my goodness, that's another great opportunity. Well, guys, a little bit of me is just surprised that we're going to end up on the losing side. We conceded 3 really cheap goals right at the end of the first half, and we've absolutely bossed it. And for the second time in the save, we have lost a Europa League final. I can't believe that. We were slicing through Tottenham. We had so many chances, but I mean, those 2 goals just before the half-time interval, and then the misses that we had with around 25 to play. Ouattara had a great opportunity. We just couldn't take them. And I don't know, man. It's really not very good from Monaco. And I think my time here might be coming to an end. I think it's much better for the challenge if we move elsewhere, probably to Spain, and we look to come back to the French League with PSG when the job becomes available, because it should be a formality winning it with PSG, and I tried not to just go to PSG and win it easily, and we did win the French Cup with a different team, but I think it's too difficult over a 34 league game season to compete with the Parisians. And as Alfie Devine lifts the trophy for Tottenham, it is a 2nd Europa League final defeat in this save, and honestly this and the Conference League are proving to be the most difficult trophies to win. Well, guys, I'm honestly not sure what I'm going to do over the summer and heading into next season. I've no idea where I'm going to be. Normally I have a bit of a plan, but I can't believe we've lost another Europa League final. It's so difficult to even play in these competitions, let alone winning them. We've lost 2 finals, man. That is gutting. As for the Ligue 1, we know PSG won the league at a canter, 15 points clear. I just don't think we can compete with them over a 34-game season. We were miles off it. Lille in 3rd, Nice in 4th, Marseille 5th, Lens 6th, Lyon 7th and Strasbourg in 8th. I've no idea what that means for the European places. It's so difficult to even know. The teams going down are Metz, Angers and Lorient will head into the relegation playoff. Yeah, I don't know if you can tell, guys, but I'm a little bit downbeat after that loss. I'm fuming. I won't lie, I'm fuming. But we did have a bit of a silver lining. We actually defeated PSG in the Coupe De France once again. We don't get any extra bonus points for it, as we already won it last season, but I guess we got one over on PSG. As for the European competitions, I'm really tempted to try and get a job with one of the big teams heading into the Conference League for next year. You look at the teams this year, like Brentford, Betis, Wolfsburg. I don't know, man. I think if we were at one of the big clubs, we'd go all the way and win the Conference League and we could tick it off. But this year, it is Real Betis winning it. I believe they've lost a few finals throughout the course of the season, but they defeat the Germans Wolfsburg by 2-1 to get their hands on the trophy. And as for the Champions League this year, unfortunately our former team Frankfurt, who won it last season, couldn't retain it after there were some cracking quarter-final ties. Barcelona knocked out PSG in a thriller, whilst Marseille reached the Champions League final and actually went all the way, defeating Barca in the final to pick up their first Champions League trophy in God knows how long. As for the individual player stats, no surprises, it was pretty heavily dominated by PSG players. Oscarson did manage 17 goals and Omega 15, so our strike partnership did do pretty well this season. As for the assists, well, it wasn't dominated by PSG players, as Noah Okafor and our Enzo Fernandez both managed to get 8 assists. Okafor should technically have won it, as he did it in one fewer game, and Oscarson also managed 5 as well. And PSG's Chevalier actually missed out on the Golden Glove to Fran Gonzalez of OGC Nice. Edison managed 6 in 26, with Carrillo managing just 1 clean sheet in 8 in what has not been a particularly good season for Monaco. And guys, looking at the player stats in a bit more detail, Omega was our top goal scorer in all competitions with 27. The Iceman managed 25 and was just a few behind him, with Minte having a good first season with 12 goals and 8 assists, alongside Bahoya, who managed 8 goals and 6 assists. And Arnie Engels, in his first season, had a very, very strong campaign, starting most of our games in midfield next to Enzo Fernandez, who was our top creator. But guys, I think that is where I'm going to end it for today. Another disappointing episode. Takes me back to season 3, I think it was, with Napoli, where we lost the Europa League and the Coppa Italia final in the space of a few days in game. So yes, it's not looking good, to be honest. I'm not sure what my plan is moving forward. We've built a good squad here with Monaco, but I'm not sure it's good enough to take on PSG in the league. So are we going to stay? Are we going to move? If we do move, where are we going to go? I honestly have absolutely no idea. So it's a complete mystery for myself and for you guys, but we will be back with the next episode very, very soon, where we will be continuing our Glory Hunter journey, whether it is here in France with Monaco or elsewhere. I'll catch you for it very soon, guys. Take care and peace.